Welcome back, traveler. You found the slumbering cosmos. Tonight, we're going to ask the oldest question there is. What happened before the Big Bang? Not the question of how the universe began. We'll get to that gently. But the stranger one, the one that sits underneath it. What came before? What was there when there was no there? What happened when there was nothing for anything to happen in? It's the kind of question that keeps people awake at 3 in the morning. So let's do the opposite. Let's take that question and turn it slowly in our hands, like a smooth stone, until it stops being frightening and becomes the softest thing you've ever held. Because here's what I've learned about this question. It has no answer. And that is not a failure. That is the most beautiful part. Make yourself heavy now. Let the mattress take your weight. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Unclench your hands. Nothing you learn tonight will require anything of you. Nothing out here needs you awake. Take one slow breath in and let it go all the way. Let's go back. All the way back. We begin, as always, from your bed. Rise gently, through the ceiling, through the roof, through the soft cold air above your street. The lights of your town gather into a small golden constellation, then scatter, then fade. Higher, the curve of the earth appears, and now the whole planet, blue and white and quietly turning, with everyone you have ever known asleep or awake somewhere on that thin, bright skin. Higher still, the sun becomes one star among 100 billion. The Milky Way spreads beneath us like a river of milk poured across black glass. Then it, too, becomes small, a bright pinwheel among 1,000 others, then 1,000,000, then a haze of galaxies, each one a city of 100 billion suns scattered out to the edge of sight in every direction. This is the universe as it is tonight, vast and cold and calm and mostly empty and very, very old. 13.8 billion years old. We know that number the way you know the age of an old tree, by reading the rings. And tonight, we're going to walk backward along those rings, not forward into the unknown future, backward into a past that is finished and settled and utterly safe, because all of it has already happened. Nothing that has already happened can hurt you. Let's walk. We turn the clock backward. And the first thing we notice is that the galaxies begin to drift toward each other. Not because they are moving. This is the part that everyone gets wrong. So let me say it slowly. The galaxies are not flying apart through space, like debris from an explosion. Space itself is stretching between them. Every day, gently, there is a little more distance in the universe than there was the day before. The galaxies sit still, more or less, and a room between them grows. Imagine a very old, very slow-rising loaf of raisin bread. The raisins don't crawl through the dough. The dough swells, and every raisin drifts away from every other raisin, and no raisin is at the center, because the swelling is happening everywhere at once. You are inside the dough. So am I. The stretching is happening in the space between your hand and your pillow right now. Far, far too slowly to matter, overwhelmed 1,000,000,000,000 times over by the humble electric grip that holds your atoms together. So, run the loaf backward. Unrise it. The galaxies converge. The space between them shrinks. The universe grows smaller and denser and warmer Not because anything is being pushed, but because the room is quietly folding back up. Back where we go. 10 billion years. 12. 13. The stars go out, one by one, unborn. Now the universe is a few 100 million years old, running backward, and something lovely happens. The last stars unmake themselves, and the sky goes dark. This is a real era. Astronomers call it the cosmic dark ages. Hundreds of millions of years when the universe was filled with nothing but cooling hydrogen gas, drifting in the dark. No stars, no galaxies, no light anywhere in all of space. Just a warm, dim, patient fog, slowly gathering itself under gravity, taking its time. For 100 million years, nothing happened. And then, somewhere in that fog, in a place a little denser than the rest, the first star lit. I think about that a lot. That the universe spent 100 million years in the dark, doing nothing at all before it made its first light. That the long dark part was not a mistake or a delay. It was the gathering. You know something about that. Everyone lying awake at night knows something about that. The fog thickens as we walk backward. Hotter now, denser. And then, at 380,000 years after the beginning, we run into a wall. It is a wall of light. Before this moment, running backward, so, after this moment, the universe was so hot that atoms could not hold themselves together. Electrons roamed free. Light could not travel. It scattered endlessly, trapped, the way a torch beam is trapped inside a fog bank. The universe was opaque. It glowed, but it could not see itself. And then it cooled just enough for electrons to settle down beside their protons and become the first hydrogen atoms, and the fog cleared all at once, everywhere in the cosmos, and light was suddenly free to fly. That light is still flying. It is passing through your bedroom right now, through your walls, through your blanket, through you. It has been traveling for 13.8 billion years, stretched out along the way into a faint whisper of microwaves, the cosmic microwave background. The oldest light there is. We photographed it. We mapped it across the whole sky, and it is almost perfectly smooth, the same temperature to within 1 part in 100,000 in every direction you look. A soft, even glow, the color of fire that went out long ago and is still faintly warm. If you've ever seen an old television tuned to a dead channel, a small percentage of that static, that gentle hiss, was this. The first light of the universe, falling on an antenna in a living room. The oldest thing in existence, murmuring in the corner while someone got up to make tea. Let that light pass through you now. It is doing so anyway. It has come a very long way to be here, and it means you no harm. Backward still, the wall of light is behind us, and now we are inside the fire. The universe is a plasma brighter than any star and shrinking as we go. Minutes now, not years. At 3 minutes old, protons and neutrons are fusing into the first helium. The recipe that set the composition of everything, and which we can still measure in the oldest stars, exactly as predicted. The universe cooked its ingredients in 3 minutes and has been serving them ever since. At 1 second old, the temperature is 10 billion degrees. At 1 millionth of a second, protons and neutrons themselves dissolve into a soup of free quarks, a state of matter so hot and dense that particle colliders on Earth have recreated it for the briefest of instants and found it behaves like a perfect liquid, frictionless, flowing without resistance. The most violent conditions imaginable, and they flow like water. Everything is getting hotter and denser and smaller, and the numbers for the first time start to become uncomfortable. But keep breathing slowly. There is nothing here that can reach you. This all happened and finished before there was an Earth to happen upon. We are approaching the 1st second, and in the 1st second, there is a moment that changed everything. At a very, very small fraction of a second after the beginning, a decimal point followed by 35 zeros and a 1. The universe, we think, did something extraordinary. It inflated. In an instant briefer than any instant you can picture, space expanded by a factor so enormous that a region smaller than a proton became larger than a grapefruit. Doesn't sound like much, said that way, but it is the most violent stretching in the history of existence, and it happened faster than light could cross a single atom. And then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped, and the energy that drove it poured out as heat and particles, and the ordinary, gentle expansion we still live inside took over, and has been going patiently ever since. Why do we believe this? Because inflation left fingerprints. It explains why the universe looks the same in every direction. Regions now impossibly far apart were once close enough to touch and to share a temperature. It explains why space is so precisely flat. And it explains something beautiful. Those tiny variations in the cosmic microwave background, 1 part in 100,000, are the stretched out echoes of quantum fluctuations, the tiny restless jitter of empty space, blown up to the size of the sky. Every galaxy exists because of a quantum flicker in the first instant. The clusters of galaxies, the Milky Way, the Sun, the Earth. You are the enlarged shadow of a tremble in nothing. Sit with that a moment. It's not a frightening thought. It's a tender one. And now we arrive. 0. The Big Bang. And here I have to be honest with you because this whole channel is built on being honest at bedtime. The Big Bang was not an explosion. There was no bang. There was no empty stage on which it happened, and nowhere to stand and watch it. It did not happen at a place because every place there is was inside it. It happened everywhere. It is still, in a sense, happening everywhere. The place where the Big Bang occurred is where you're lying right now, and also a billion light years to your left. And the deepest truth, the Big Bang is not the moment the universe began. It is the earliest moment our equations can describe. Run Einstein's relativity backward, and at exactly 0, it hands you infinite density and infinite temperature, which is physics' way of shrugging. Infinity is not an answer. Infinity is the sound the mathematics makes when it has stopped being able to speak. Everything before that point, everything at that point, is beyond the edge of the map. So, what happened before the Big Bang? Let me give you the strangest, gentlest answer first. the one Stephen Hawking liked to give. Maybe nothing happened before, because maybe there was no before. Time, in Einstein's universe, is not a river flowing past events. Time is part of the fabric, woven together with space, bendable, stretchable, part of the thing rather than the container for it. And if time itself came into being with the universe, then asking what happened before it is like standing at the North Pole and asking what lies north of you. Nothing lies north, not because there's a wall there, because north simply runs out softly and the surface curves smoothly away beneath your feet, and there is no edge and nothing is missing. Hawking called this the no-boundary proposal. The universe has no beginning in the way a story has a beginning. It is closed and smooth and finite and has no edge anywhere, like the surface of the earth, which is limited but has no border you can fall off. There is no before. There's only here and everything, and it never began in the way that things begin. I find that unspeakably restful. The universe does not need a first moment to lean on. It simply is all the way down, all the way back. But that is one answer, and honest physics keeps other answers on the shelf and takes them down sometimes to look at them. Maybe our universe was born inside a black hole in another universe. Every black hole a seed, every collapse a birth, an endless nesting of cosmoses inside cosmoses like a house of quiet rooms. Maybe space and time are eternally inflating somewhere far beyond our sight. An infinite foam, forever bubbling, and our entire observable universe is one bubble in that foam, 13 billion years old, while the foam itself is ageless. Maybe the universe bounced. Perhaps a previous cosmos contracted slowly over unimaginable ages and did not collapse to nothing but reached its smallest size and rebounded gently into us. A breath in and then a breath out. Maybe time is cyclical and the universe expands forever, cools forever, and after it forgets what a clock even means, it becomes indistinguishable from a new beginning and starts again, not in violence, but in a kind of forgetting. Maybe, as some suggest, if you run the clock back past zero, time simply reverses and there is a mirror universe on the other side, running backward away from ours, its own inhabitants calling our side before. Each of these is a serious idea, held by serious people. Not one of them is proven. Perhaps not one of them can be. Let them drift past you like ships in fog. You don't have to choose. Nobody has to choose tonight. Here is what science actually says when you ask it what came before the Big Bang. It says, I don't know. And you should hear that not as a confession of failure, but as the most honorable sentence in a language. Because the same voice that says, I don't know about the first instant is the voice that told us the age of the universe to within 40 million years and mapped the first light and predicted the amount of helium in stars we would not see for another 50 years and got it right. It earns the I don't know. It has paid for it over and over with everything it does know. The map of the universe is astonishingly detailed, and at the very center of it, right at the origin, there is a small blank region, and someone has written across it in a careful hand. Here, we do not yet know. Every science that ever mattered has had such a region, and they have never been the end of anything. They have always been the door. So we sit here now, you and I, at the edge of the map, 13.8 billion years upstream from your bedroom. And there is nothing to be afraid of. Not because we solved it, we didn't, but because the not knowing turns out to be soft. It has no teeth. It does not lurk. It just sits there at the beginning of everything, patient as a sleeping animal, waiting for someone clever to come along in 100 years and ask a better question. That person is not you. Not tonight. Tonight, your only task is to lie still and breathe. And notice the universe did all of this without being watched. The inflation, the fire, the clearing of the fog, the long dark age, the first star, the 10 billion years of stars living and dying and seeding the dark with carbon and oxygen and iron until there was enough of it in one particular place to make a planet and an ocean and a cell, and eventually the atoms that are at this very moment holding your eyelids closed. All of that happened by itself. Nobody supervised it. Nobody had to stay awake. It went perfectly. Let's come home now. It takes no time at all. Down through the haze of galaxies, down through the pinwheel of the Milky Way, past its 100 billion suns, to one unremarkable yellow star 2/3 of the way out along a minor arm, down to the third planet, down through the night side, through the clouds, through the roof, to a room with a bed in it, and you in the bed, exactly where we left you. 13.8 billion years of cosmic history, and its current project is this: to lie here, warm, and breathe slowly and sleep. The oldest light in existence is still passing through your walls. It always will be. The galaxies are still drifting apart, so gently that it took us until 1929 to notice. And at the very beginning of everything, there's a small blank space on the map where nobody knows what happened. And the universe has been running perfectly well anyway for 13.8 billion years without anyone knowing. You're allowed to not know things and still rest. The cosmos has been doing it since the first second. Let the question go. It will keep. It has kept for 13 billion years. It will certainly keep until morning. Breathe in slowly and out even more slowly. There is no before. There is only this, and it is enough, and you are exactly where you should be. The cosmos is slumbering, and so are you. Good night, traveler. Sleep at the beginning of everything.